Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2. So the Ahsoka show is the next up for the chopping block for the Star Wars fandom. Now I didn't watch it when it immediately came out, though I was made aware that there was a big deal being made that the episodes would be released at 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. You see, I didn't have a problem with the time where the episodes where Disney was releasing their major show episodes when they were releasing them like 3 a.m. or something, because I get up to work early. So by the time I wake up to go to work, the episode's already out. I could just watch it in the break room or something, and I'm good to go. So I didn't have that same complaint. But I digress. I'm happy that everyone's feels a lot more optimistic about the new time. But I digress. The Star Wars fandom has been ups and downs. The Obi-Wan show, admittedly, as much as I liked it, it was not as great as we all imagined it would be. Mandalorian Season 3, while once again, as much as I liked it and had fun with Mandalorian Season 3, but it wasn't as good as the previous seasons, and it didn't have the same bang, and I don't know if that's because they didn't have as many cameos or they didn't have as much stuff going on because it was so centered on the Mandalorian of it all. It's hard to tell. You have to imagine the show was affected by not only COVID, but the Cara Dune of it all, and just shifting tides in Disney. I mean, just so much was going on. And with COVID alone, like, how much could Pedro Pascal really even be on set for The Mandalorian? So you have to imagine Season 3 was affected by a lot of things. But in the end, it wasn't as good as many of us thought it was going to be. I still had fun with it. I still thought Season 3 was fun. I still thought Season 3 was good. But it just wasn't as good as the previous seasons. So right now, Star Wars has been in a flux right now. You know, Mandalorian was riding high. Mandalorian was the biggest thing on Disney Plus, and it wasn't even that. So the Ahsoka show, which is another show we were all excited about. We heard about Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. But after the Obi-Wan show, it's so crazy. If you go back to Mandalorian Season 2, when that came out, when we heard the announcement of the Obi-Wan show, we heard the announcement of the Ahsoka show, we were all excited. Now, everyone's kind of pessimistic. Now, in the middle of all this, you got Andor, which was undoubtedly one of the best things Star Wars ever done. The show got nominated for Best Drama, so that should tell you right there. Which, by the way, 2 Disney Star Wars shows have been nominated for the Best Drama of the year. So that kind of says something. Both Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2 and Andor both got nominated. So Disney Plus is where you're gonna get some pretty good Star Wars. Like, both of them got nominated. So I do feel good about that. But the Ahsoka show, which Ahsoka is Dave Filoni's pet character, as some people would say. She's an original character created by Dave Filoni, Anakin Skywalker's Padawan during the Clone Wars animated series, which is an amazing series, by the way. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've never watched Clone Wars, you should do yourself a treat. It's a good binge show, because it's like 7 seasons. And, like, I'm the type of guy who likes to find a show that has a lot of seasons so I can just, like, indulge in that, like, just have something to watch. It kind of helps me, helps me relax and stuff. So watching Clone Wars is definitely fun. Also, Rebels, which is basically the two things. A lot of the characters in this are all from the Clone Wars and Rebels, and that's what's in these 2 episodes. Now, this show picks off, and it feels like it's shortly after Season 2 of Mandalorian. There's not a real timeline, but we know it's after Mandalorian because Ahsoka was looking for Admiral Thrawn, who was the big villain in Rebels. And if you've ever seen, Admiral Thrawn is a bad motherfucker. He's a very calculating man. He's kind of like a Doctor Doom-like character in terms of his mind and his intellect and who he is and how he is. Like, there was this book that came out a long time ago about Admiral Thrawn, and it's one of the best books, non-canon Star Wars books. I mean, it was such a good book that he ended up making Thrawn an actual character. Though that's happened many times already in Star Wars lore and shows and whatnot. They really did make him a character. They really made him a big figure. Now, the problem with the show inherently, which is the problem with a lot of the Star Wars stuff inherently, is at the end of the day, we already know what happens. We might not know the specifics, but we already know what happens. At the end of the day, we know that Thrawn doesn't win because he's not the main villain of the new trilogy, of the sequel trilogy. We know they don't win. We know Ahsoka doesn't live to see the sequel trilogy. We know we know certain characters probably aren't around for that because otherwise they would have been in the sequel trilogy. So we know certain things don't go certain ways. So it does kind of hurt a bit, especially this show, the anticipation of Thrawn, because we're like, well, no matter what happens, homie ain't gonna live. He's not gonna go on to be a big figure because we know the Emperor is still alive and all that. So Dave Filoni has to, a lot in the same vein of the Clone Wars, of the prequel trilogy, when he was creating the Clone Wars, he has to write around what's already been established. So we already know that's not gonna happen, but it's still okay because Rosario Dawson is back playing Ahsoka Tano. Now, I like Rosario Dawson's take on Ahsoka. Granted, you know, when you have a character who was voiced by a different actress and he was an animated character, it is a tough thing to transition that into live action, especially when it's like animated, like it's like realistic, not like cartoonish shit. It's like realistic animations, and that voice, you kind of have that connection to that voice, but I have kind of grown used to that because the way I see it is, if you watch Clone Wars and you watch Rebels, this version of Ahsoka is just, it's what happened after a time. It kind of happens to all Jedi, right? You know, no matter how rambunctious and ambitious and excited you start off, oh, I got fucking Jedi powers. Eventually, you're gonna calm the fuck down. Eventually, the weight of your powers, and she's dealt with a lot. You know, she still feels a bit of responsibility and guilt for Anakin becoming Darth Vader. So, like, there's a lot weighing on her. There's a lot weighing on her. And you can tell. And that's kind of how Rosario Dawson plays her. This is a woman who has seen a lot, who's been through a lot, and there's a lot of weight on her. And she's carrying it with grace, but it's heavy. You know what I mean? It's heavy. You can tell it's heavy. She's carrying it, but it's heavy. And it's very obvious that she's a very lonely person. She's trying to push it down. She's trying to, like, kind of pretend like she isn't, but she is. So clearly you can kind of see the story they're going with Ahsoka, which is her relaxing, because they made it pretty clear in the first two episodes, like, she hasn't stayed in one place very long. She hasn't really made any meaningful connections. Even though she isn't a Jedi, and she can do that, that's not even a part of her teachings anymore, she just hasn't allowed herself to. And it's interesting. It's very interesting with Ahsoka. And like I said, I like Rosario Dawson's take on it. Also, we get a returning Sabine Wren. We get a returning Hera Syndulla. Chopper, we get the Ghost, the Phantom. I mean, we get a lot of all callbacks to the Rebels. And which is cool. And like, so all the characters are in different places. Hera is like a general now, which makes sense. So like, she's a big figure in the New Republic. And it's very clear in the Mandalorian. It's very clear in both the Mandalorian and, not Andor, but Mandalorian for sure, that like, the New Republic was terrible. They kept, like, and the thing is, they kept so many people from the fucking Empire around. Not only did it keep so many people from the Empire around, like, it's one of those things that people don't think about when they think about revolutions. And I talk to my friend Seth about this all the time. A revolution is doomed to fail if you have no plans on what you're going to do when it succeeds. And the vibe you've gotten is, and I think Dave Filoni has done a pretty good job of really expressing that, is the vibe you get is, during the original trilogy, when they were fighting, you know, your rebels, you're fighting to beat beat your oppressors and beat the Empire. There wasn't a ton of thought put into, there was thought, but there wasn't a ton of thought put into, well, what if we win? Then what do we do? It genuinely feels like they were very unprepared for what it would be like if they won. And their unpreparedness, their sloppiness, what's the word I'm looking for? Their laziness, their, like, they will end up, you can see clear as day, because I remember when the new trilogy, the prequel trilogy came out, everyone asked the same question, how the hell did a new empire rise up that quickly? But when you watch the story Dave Filoni is telling in the background of all these shows, you really can see, like, oh, there was a lot of incompetence. There was a lot of spies. There was a lot of being too nice to the Empire. Like, perhaps they should have just killed everyone who was equated to the Empire. We don't know. But in the end, their lack of urgency and whatnot will end up leading to the downfall. And we already know that's going to happen. So like I say, it's very fascinating when you kind of already know these things are going to happen. But yeah, Hera is back and played by, I forget her name, Kate Winslet, I think. Kate Winslet. Seen her in a billion things. She was just Huntress in Harley Quinn, that Harley Quinn movie. Like, she's been around for quite some time. Funny enough, she's married to Ewan McGregor. I didn't know that. I was like, wow, what's the chances of that? And she does a great job. She really does feel like Hera. Like, obviously, it takes some adjusting because, live action, CG live action. But I think she does a pretty good job. But the actress they picked to play Sabine, she is great. That's the best casting of any of the animated characters to me. Because she fits it so perfectly. She even sort of sounds like her. She looks like her. She sounds like her. Her attitude is like her. It's exactly how you imagine she would look live action. I don't know about the guy they cast as Ezra. He looks a little chunky to me. And I hate to say that. But in my brain, anytime I've seen Ezra, I'm like, Ezra's kind of skinny. Like, I was thinking, like, when I think Ezra, I think that guy who played Aladdin. Like, that kind of look. Not... The guy they cast is... He's a little heavy. Like not to say anything, but it threw me off. I was like, it's a little chunky, but okay, sure. Maybe that's it. I'm not gonna complain. Maybe we'll see him and I'll feel differently. I don't know. Maybe the dude needs to get in shape and we'll see him and he's in better shape. Who knows? Also, Ray Stevens. I think it's Steven or Stevenson. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. But great actor. This is his last role before he passed away not that long ago. He played roles like The Punisher and whatnot, and Punisher Warzone. He's been in a lot of things. He's been around for a very long time. Very seasoned actor. Very great, good actor. And he does it. And it's awesome. His last role, he gets to be a Sith Lord. I mean, come on. Well, a former Jedi turned Sith Lord. Either way, the man strikes a huge... I know that dude's a big guy. Holy shit, he looks big. Like, with the fucking robe on. Like, I was like, this dude's just towering over people, man. He's intimidating as fuck. I mean, he was an intimidating guy anyways, just off riff. But with the beard, the gray beard, and the big fucking, black hood and shit, I'm like, yo, he looks scary. And clearly they're looking together, they're trying to find Admiral Thrawn, him and his Padawan. And we find out that Ahsoka took Sabine as her Padawan and took her under her wing. I didn't even know Sabine had any Jedi Force powers, but apparently Ahsoka took her under her wing back in the day. And clearly they're setting up this dynamic of what's the word I'm looking for? Master and Padawan. Master and apprentice, because the bad guy on the other side is a master and an apprentice. Ahsoka, a master and an apprentice. It's very interesting. And I like how they're setting that up. Obviously, there's a whole conspiracy that they're trying to help Thrawn, or there's still Empire's people hidden in the weeds, which we already kind of knew, but that's very interesting. The fight scenes are very cool. Not the best, but they're still cool. I've seen worse, but they're still fun. The fight scenes are fun. The CGI is amazing. The CGI looks great, which I don't know if anybody noticed this, but the Star Wars shows have the best CGI on Disney Plus. Even better than the MCU shows. And I love Marvel, but the Star Wars shows got them beat. That CGI shit looks amazing. All the CGI in this show looks amazing. It's a very interesting story. Like, you're curious of where it's going, and you really didn't get a beat on it. And these first two episodes are really just an introduction. They're an introduction. These are the characters. These are what they're doing. This is what these characters have been up to since the last time you saw them. Kind of thing. And then ends with, this is the plot. This is what we're doing. Boom. 2 episodes. One's 50 minutes. One's 42 minutes. And boom, we're off to the races with 2 episodes. So out of these 2 episodes, I think it's a solid start. It wasn't mind-blowing, it wasn't revolutionary, but it's a solid 8 out of 10. Both episodes together are both 8s out of 10. I had a great time with it. Like I said, nothing mind-blowing, but still a fun time. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Content Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.